Yo. Welcome back to episode 3 of Swords and Cannons podcast. This is your host, Big Slim. We're going to be talking about the first preseason game against the Miami Dolphins, and unfortunately, we lost 26-24, but we got some good things to come out of that game, some good players to look for and look forward to throughout that game, and we're going to kind of break down how our performance was and what players stood out and what players didn't stand out throughout that game. But once again, we lost to the Miami Dolphins 26-24. We really lost on the humbug. My kicker, he ended up at the end of the game, he ended up making the field goal at the end, but then they caught the timeout to ice him, and then he had to come back and kick it, and then he missed it. He hit out the uprights and missed, so that's how we lost. It should have been a game we should have won, should have, would have, could have, but that's how things work. Of course, it's the preseason, so we're not taking anything major out of it. We're not looking at it like it's something to sound an alarm. But like I say, there's a lot of good takeaways from this game, a lot of things to look forward to, and a lot of things that we kind of feeling underwhelmed about as far as certain players. But let's jump right into it. So just kind of go over the game. I watched over it briefly. It was a good game. Kind of look and see what players have kind of grown since last year, and kind of putting certain players that's been reserve players in those starting positions and seeing what's going on. And one of the players that stood out to me was to start off with Cam Gill. As far as our outside linebackers, Cam Gill and Anthony Nelson. Anthony Nelson is a homegrown talent. We drafted him. I think this is his third year. So he's really primed to kind of be in that role where he's going to be getting a lot of snaps this year. He did really good. I think both of them guys had sacks in that game. Let me look up the box score. But yeah, Cam Gill got a sack, Nelson got a sack, and Patrick O'Connor, old steady Eddie, but he got a sack as well. So as a team, we had 3 sacks, 6 tackles for losses. But we did really good as far as our outside linebackers. They really showed up and did really good things, man. Cam Gill had 2 tackles for loss. Anthony Nelson had 2 tackles for loss. So they did really solid as far as the outside linebacker room, and those guys really stepping up and really showing that they have something to offer and add to the pot as far as the team. Cam Gill, this is one of the things Bo said that, after every year he's got something different from what he learned the year before added to his game. When he first got here, he was strictly power and didn't know how to play. His technique has gotten better, his awareness has gotten better, his drops has gotten better, and he's still a tenacious rusher. We don't mind putting him in there. We don't feel like we lose anything when he goes into the ball game. He's become very trustworthy. That's a lot to say. That's a whole lot to say about a guy that was undrafted, that's came in and just really just been one of those camp guys that's really been carving out his piece on the team, and like I say, he's a guy to remind me of kind of like Shaq Barry. He's not big, he's not overly big, he's not overly long, but for some reason, he just knows how to get to the quarterback. He did really good that game. Anthony Nelson is kind of one of those guys we drafted as a shadow to Carl Nassib. Once Carl Nassib came back, he is back now, but Anthony Nelson fits the same mold of Carl Nassib, like a 6'7", 6'7" type of guy, big, long body guy that can play in the dirt, but also can play outside linebacker, and he's getting better every year. He got a sack and 2 tackles for losses in that game, so it's really good, and this is what Bose had to say about him. He's saying that Nelson's a good player. He stepped up last year, had a bunch of sacks. He's the only player I've seen come out of college watching his tape in college and pro that never fell for a bootleg. That's a lot to say. He has great vision and great intelligence. He doesn't look muscular or anything, but he's very strong. He knows how to play. He's very savvy, and he's a big part of what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? So when you have a guy like Nelson and Cam Gill, that the defensive coach, the head coach, but which is a defensive coach, is saying a lot about, that's really good as far as our depth. When you have Shea Barrett and JTS go out there, and you have Nelson and Cam Gill can play behind them, that's a good depth as far as the outside linebacker room, that guys can play the run and play the pass. Other takeaways I took for the game as far as the receivers, of course, Mike Evans, Godwin, and Julio, none of them never played. But Tyler Johnson is one of them guys that, he's in his third year. It's kind of a make or break year with him. Since he was a late round draft pick, he only on a 4-year contract. So this is one of them years that he has to step up with injuries to Godwin and Mike Evans catching those occasional hamstrings, and with Julio Jones being on the team and have his occasional hamstring injuries as well. This is really a year where Tyler Johnson is going to get a lot of snaps. Of course, with Scotty Miller being hurt with the turf toe injury, Tyler Johnson really just have to carve his basically his role out of the offense. Whether we want to use him as a slot player or outside player, I think he could do everything. I think he's a good copycat of Chris Godwin, a guy that you could put him inside, outside. He know how to make catches. He was very productive in Minnesota. He was one of the best receivers coming out of college and all the FBS coming out of Minnesota because of his production. Trustworthy guy, he can catch. He's just learning how to be a pro. He's just learning the game, learning the speed of the game. I think he's definitely going to bust out on the scene this year as maybe that number 4 receiver, number 5 receiver. We got a lot of receivers in the room. We had to make some tough decisions about. But I think Tyler Johnson really is going to do a good thing, man. In that game, he had 6 catches for 73 yards. That's a good deal. That's a very big deal when you talk about preseason and having a guy like Trask and Gabbert throwing to him, that he's definitely, coming down with the ball. He's definitely making those catches. Let's see, Tyler Johnson, he led the receiving room with 6 receptions, 73 yards, 7 targets. So 6 out of 7 targets, he caught them. That's really good. A young guy in Kalen Geiger, a new guy in the room. He had 4 targets, 4 receptions, 52 yards. He did really good. Jared Stearns, a new guy, undrafted free agent coming in this year. Did really good. He's been making a lot of noise during training camp. 4 targets, 4 catches, 51 yards. He's doing really good. When you have a guy, when you talk about guys that's on a bubble, like a Jalen Darden, that he got 1 catch for 23 yards, we made the touchdown. You got guys like Jared Stearns and Geiger and and Devin Tompkins really giving a guy like Jalen Darden his run for his money. Scotty Miller didn't play this season. Scotty Miller he got 2 targets, but he didn't do anything. You kind of know what Scotty Miller is really used for, though. It's that big play type of guy. I don't see Scotty Miller catching a lot of passes across the middle or anything like that. But it was definitely a good situation to highlight Tyler Johnson and some of the young guys that's coming in as undrafted free agents and really seeing what they can add to the pot. So it's really good for that, having those guys doing their thing, man. Like I say, Tyler Johnson really has to step up this year because of Chris Godwin being hurt. And I don't see us really rushing Chris Godwin back by no means. I mean, it's a good thing if we don't. Chris Godwin just blew his ACL out in October, so you don't want to rush him back in a situation, or was it December? But you don't want to rush him back just because you feel like he can run routes, because when the bullets start flying and he start taking a heat to that knee, you don't want this to turn into an OBJ situation where he just basically tears ACL up running the route and it just give out on him because he didn't give his knee that time to really heal and get back strong as he should. I don't want that to happen for him. I'm okay with not playing Godwin until late into the season, so we know we've gave him ample time to get ready and get his knee back up to par for the playoff run, which we know we're going to make. So it really don't leave a lot of room to have him out there when he doesn't need to be out there. I get it for, just kind of getting him back in football shape, getting him back in that mind frame of getting into the speed of the game. But when you have a guy like Tyler Johnson that can really do just as much as Chris Godwin, that's relatively healthy and can make those big plays. We don't seen him already make big catches in our Super Bowl run. This is the time where we really can lean on a guy like Tyler Johnson and really see what we have out of him. This is his 3rd year. We're taking the training wheels off. We know what we have in Chris Godwin. Let's see what we have in Tyler Johnson. We brought in Russell Gage on a 3-year, $30 million contract. We know what we have in him. He's already proven one of the main wide receivers coming out of free agency. We grabbed him up just to, give us that cushion on not bringing Chris Godwin back as fast as we would like. I think if Russell Gage and Tyler Johnson really do well splitting those snaps that really Chris Godwin get, I think we'll be in a good situation on not rushing Chris Godwin back. But as far as the young guys in Stern and Geiger, like Bo said, like they both showed up. Those guys can play. We have a lot of tough decisions they receivers. Stearns can play. He caught a lot of balls in college, and when the lights came on, he turned it on. Geiger turned it on. Tyler Johnson turned it on. It's a lot of good film to watch. Like I say, it's going to be some tough decisions in that wide receiver room as far as the cuts. And you have guys like Jalen Darden that's on the bubble. You just don't really know what you have out of him. Every time he gets a chance to, put on a performance, he really kind of just be underwhelming, and then we try to use him as a return guy. He really didn't do good as a return guy. So the question is, what is Jalen Darden good at? He's flashy, he's fast, he's more quick than fast. He can do a lot of things. He looks good, but does that translate into, stats, and does it translate into catches and yards and touchdowns on the field? I think he's a little small, but I think we have to just really figure out a way to use him. But when you have a guy like Scotty Miller that can really is proven and carved himself out carved himself out of place in the roster as being that down the field burner, the guy that could take the top off the defense. If you had to pick, I think Jalen Darden gets the short end of the stick because Jalen Darden can't do what Scotty Miller can do. I think Scotty Miller can do what Jalen Darden does. But when you have young guys like Stearns and Geiger and Kevin Thompson that's showing up out of nowhere and is really doing good, and they're giving Scotty Miller a run for his money. So it'd be interesting to see, how all this works out as far as the wide receiver room. But in this game, when you think about the quarterback position and everyone's talking about Kyle Trask and, and is he Cal trash or Cal's trash? And in this game against Miami, he did really good, man. He was 25 for 33, which is damn good. 258 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, took 2 sacks. But his rating, his passer rating was 95.3, so just really good. Blaine Gabbert, being the Grizzly vet that he is really right on the Tom Brady. Couldn't have a better game. He was 5 for 5, 56 yards, 1 touchdown. Basically a perfect passer rating. So, Blaine Gabbert came in and did what he supposed to did as the number 2 quarterback on his offense that really just studied behind Tom Brady and really shows that he understands the offense. And so if anything do happen with Brady, I think Blaine Gabbert can really come in and keep this thing going. I'm very high on Blaine Gabbert as we should because he's been with the team since we had Brady. And what Bruce Arians always made a point was that, hey, people like to talk about his history, but this guy's never had the same coach twice. Had the same coach in 2 seasons, whatever he been. Every year he had to change the coach, change the offense, change the offensive coordinator. He never been anywhere other than us as far as continuity being in the offensive system. I mean, he was drafted in the first round for a reason because of what he was and what he did in college. So, a lot of quarterbacks like that just really get put in unfair situations because when you are a quarterback and you get drafted in the first round, you go to bad teams, and you go to teams that's really bad. And you go to teams that really don't have an identity or idea of what they want to do. And they put so much weight on a quarterback to figure it out when, in essence, the front office isn't stable. It's not like when we had Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston had a stable front office. He was in the same offense for 5 years, technically, and still couldn't make nothing out of it. Well, you got a guy like Blaine Gabbert, one of these guys that really have a backstory to the lack of success when you think about, well, look, this guy never had the same offense twice in a row in all of his years in the NFL, and now you give him this with a quarterback like Tom Brady to learn behind. This is what he can do as far as preseason. It's still the book out on what he can do in the regular season. I think when the Tom Brady era is all over, Blaine Gabbert is going to be QB1. Then we can really see, what he can do for us with the weapons we will have for him. But being 5 for 5, 56 yards, throwing a touchdown, perfect passer rating lets you know that this guy really understands the offense. He know how to get the ball around. He know how to make this productive. He know how to be efficient. But with Kyle Trask, as our second-year guy out of Florida, we drafted to kind of be one of those Aaron parents to someone in the QB room. He did really good. He was really solid. He didn't miss a lot of passes. There's some things he could have got better on, a couple of decision-making issues that I saw from the game. But he had a solid outing. He did really solid. It was really good, man. He had an interception. He lost a fumble in the last 2 minutes of the first half, which gave the Dolphins that momentum. But he came back, that really resulted in a touchdown for the Dolphins. But at the end of the day, overall, I was pleased with him. He did really good. He really had a good outing about it. And this is what Bowles had to say about him. He was saying that it's a lot about the development of what he's learned and seeing what we have. We haven't seen him under pressure. We haven't seen him get knocked down or throw an incomplete pass and get up. We hadn't seen him throw an interception and hadn't seen him throw a touchdown in the preseason game to date other than practice. It was more about what kind of moxie he had out on the field and what kind of control he had on the field, whether he would panic in different situations or whether he would do the right thing. He passed a lot of those tests, so he'll get more of it next week. I can't say it will be 80 or 75% of the snaps or whatever the case may be, but he will play a lot, and the development is important for him. So this is what they're doing. They're really trying to see what they have in him, and preseason is a good situation to kind of put a quarterback in that fire with a safety net. You're not throwing him out to the wolves as far as the season and have him going against the starters. You just want to see, can he control the offense? What he does in certain situations. If they bring in the blitz, do he fold or do he still keep his composure and get the ball out or make that right read and check down? So you want to see what you have in Kyle Trask as far as the intangibles. We know what he can do. He's a big guy, 6'5". He can throw the ball. He was really productive at Florida, but it's time to see what intangibles he has in the league when you're dealing with guys is really trying to come take his head off. How do he respond to that? And I think against Miami, just when they play against Miami, during practice. They practice against these teams they play on Saturday in preseason. So I think he had a really good outing against Miami. I think it's a lot to learn from. It's a lot to grow on. But I think who took the cake in that game was really the defense, the outside linebackers, once again, to kind of circle back to Cam Gill and Anthony Nelson. I think those guys really stepped up and showed that, they're going to give those stars a run for his money. When you have JTS, it's basically, the incumbent starter because of where he drafted. But then you have a guy like Anthony Nelson has proven, in his third year that, hey, he can be productive. He can get to the quarterback. He can stop the run. He can set the edge. You really looking at JTS that he has to grow in double time because you have a guy like Anthony Nelson behind you or you have a guy like Cam Gill that's behind you as well that can play and definitely be used in certain situations. So, once again, we didn't see much out of JTS, but for those reserve guys, like Anthony Nelson and Cam Gill, it was very good to see. It was very good to watch them come on out and give us some production. So I'm looking forward to what they'll do as far as the next preseason game against the Titans. Hopefully, those guys can be very productive. But at the end of the day, it was really good to see them come on out and really do good things and really to see what those wide receivers were doing as well. We're sitting a lot of starters, so it's really the young guys' chance to come out and see what they have and see what they can do for us and not be quarterback specific, right? Because we know Tom Brady can get the ball to him in a perfect spot all over again. It's how they adjust to different quarterbacks throwing the ball. When you got Blaine Gabbert throwing you the ball, how do you adjust to that? When you got Kyle Trask throwing you the ball, how do you adjust to that? Is it you or is it the quarterback? But those guys really showed that it was not the quarterback. They can run their routes. They can still get to the spot where they need to get to and catch the ball and do something with it. So I'm very, very happy to see what this wide receiver room is going to look like at the start of the season, who get let go, who get cut, who get put on the practice squad, and that's really scary because if you get put on the practice squad, teams can still sign your way. So we'll see, man. But all in all, yeah, unfortunately we lost the kicker. Like I say, they iced him at the end of the game. They did the old technique where they called the timeout the last minute, and that kick he did when they called timeout actually went in for the win. But then the second time he kicked it, bounced out the upright. So it's nothing to be mad about. I think there's a lot of good takeaways from that Miami Tampa Bay game. I'm not gonna comment on anything Miami's doing because it's a Tampa Bay podcast, but we'll see them later on, and best of wishes to them. But at the end of the day, it was definitely something for we can get to see what our depth look like and our younger guys look like, and give them an opportunity to step on out and start, and just kind of see where we at as far as their year and then 2 years of development. We done had these guys on the team, so looking forward to it. Guys, make sure y'all like and subscribe. Let's see. Just keep your eyes tuned. Keep yourself tuned up for more content coming out of the Swords of Candace podcast. Look out for episode 3. And I'll be kind of recapping our game against the Tennessee Titans and telling you all the takeaways out of the game. So make sure you like and subscribe. Stay tuned. Peace.